Hi, I'm Scott Wonder. Welcome to another Wonderwoods video. In this video, I am doing a one-day build super fast. I'm always behind, always trying to go as quick as possible, and this is no different. I've got one day to build a topper for a reception desk for a hotel. I say one day, that's for me to build it. Scott actually took the beam, or took the slab yesterday, and ran it on the CNC, flattened it, ran it on the sander, etc. to get it done and ready for me to use. So I had the flat slab to work with. It's a mitered top, it folds over, and then live edge on the sides. So I started off here with the Festool track saw. We were gonna maybe use the CNC, but I didn't for two reasons. One was the CNC wasn't working at the time. It did give me a nice flat table to use, but it was acting up and I didn't trust it to cut the miter folds, although it would be great for that. The other reason why I didn't use it or didn't trust to use it is because I know when I cut this fully, it's gonna kind of pop and move once I get cut all the way through, just because the solid wood is gonna wanna react some. So I was a little nervous about that. So I went ahead and used the track saw. Now, the Festool track saw, I don't know how much you know about this, but the Festool track saw, I think it's widely publicized that the big one I'm using right there, is a little bit underpowered. So it takes a bunch of cuts set at different depths to kind of get through these slabs. It works fine, it just takes more passes than you would think. So the problem is when you're cutting it multiple times with multiple passes, the cut isn't as perfect as the Festool track saw could probably deliver, but it still comes out pretty nice. After I had those long pieces cut, the one long cut, then I worked on taping it so I can make sure that everything was lined up back to where I wanted it to be, that the fold looked good. And Jeff came in here to help me move it, to put it up back on the CNC. And then that gives me a chance to work on cutting the end cuts. The next move was to lay that out and figure out where the end cuts go.
While I'm working on this walnut, I need to write on it to get some measurements because I need to find center next. Writing on it with a pencil doesn't work very well because you can't see it. So I use lighter colored tape, in this case some yellow tape, so I can see it well, so I can make my marks on there. I also like to use the yellow tape because if I put a bunch of marks on here, change my mind, I can just peel it off, put a new piece of tape on, and then put the one mark that I care about. So I'm going to find the center on this, and I know it's about 12 feet long. 12 feet long leaves me at about 6 feet to the middle. So I'm going to go about 6 feet to the middle just for fun. That's 72. Give myself a mark at 72. Go from the other end, 72 as well. And I can see that middle is about in between those two marks. Now I can see it's closer together. Approximately right there. Just to verify that, I'm going to see what I got. That's a little less than 76. For a fun number, I'm just going to call it 76. Verify that. And also 76. So I like to do that instead of doing math, because I'll do some math and I'll do the math wrong. I'll write it on there, or I'll mark where I think the number is when I did my math wrong, and I still take the time to go and verify it by measuring from both ends to make sure it's actually in the center. So skip all the math part, just measure from the side, guesstimate it, and verify it. I did no math, so it's 76. And I put a new piece of tape on there to get rid of all my old marks, and I know exactly where center is. No more math, please.
That ended up being a terrible math example because the math was too easy since I divided it up and it was only 76. A better example would have been, well, 76 and 23/32 or something like that. Anyways, The 76 came out nice, and the operation was still the same. It's just it worked out too much of an even number. Anybody could have done that math. So bad example, but same outcome. Now I'm working on trimming the ends. I've already fit the two top pieces together and trimming the ends up to do the same thing on the edges. They're gonna miter fold down. I taped the pieces on there so that I can glue them up and then fold them over on the edge. And then here I am cutting little chunks for the corners. I had the boys help me, Adam here helping me, along with Scott. He showed up in a minute. And so we can get all the glue, tape, get everybody in there. I'm not scared to use a lot of glue, so you can see right there I put a ton of glue on there really fast.
Done. Now we're flipping the whole thing over. We're going to do it slowly and carefully. Just going to hang over that edge. Pull all the way back.
The beauty of this system is that gravity does a lot of the work. When we fold it over, you can see how that one flaps down, the main edge flaps down. And then we tape the ends on, and you can see how the tape, it's pretty strong. It's holding it up on the ends before we pull it down and pull it all together. Now the tape on there does a great job of holding it, but it also keeps the glue from drying. So after a little bit, you know, the glue starts to set up, but you got to really, you got to start to untape it some so that the glue can dry on the front. Now I'm doing this in a huge hurry, so I'm trying to get it all done in one day. Still do at the end of the day. Needs to be done, needs to be finished. So I'm cutting, trimming, doing everything while it's still, you know, while the glue's still setting up. And here, I'm actually starting to untape some of it and put clamps back on to kind of hold it up. I'm taking that tape off so I can get that miter to dry out. And then just to show you how fast I'm trying to go, I'm standing in between the clamps. You know that I'm in a hurry and trying to get done as fast as possible when I'm standing in between the clamps. Now one little technique I like when we do the miters, we do this on beams and, well, anything else has a miter with solid wood. The miters can be good, come together nice, but still be a little bit open on the corners. So we mash them down with a hammer handle, nice hickory handle, so it kind of pushes those miters together. Does a really good job. And then here I am doing the final sanding, cruising along, pulling clamps off, sanding as fast as possible. And I left myself a solid hour and a half to get the finish on it. So I sprayed it with crystal sealer, sanded with 320, and then top coated with crystal conversion varnish to finish up. And that's it. This thing's ready to roll. Threw it in the back of the truck and delivered it, and it was dry by the time I got there at about 5:10.